Hi everyone, it's Lynnea for LDRS Creative with another video using the Watercolor Effects Floral Stamps. I've already done a video using these stamps with LDRS Creative Hybrid inks and reacting those inks with isopropyl alcohol, but today I wanted to show you how to use a water-based ink. Before we dive into the actual project, let me show you an up-close look at these stamps. So the Watercolor Effects Floral Stamps are a layering stamp set, and there's actually two sets, a 6x8 and a 4x6, and this includes stems, greenery, and flowers, as well as multiple different kinds of flower pots and vases, and a shelf that you can stamp and layer together to create little floral bouquets and images. Now don't forget to flip your packaging over to the reverse side. This is your layering guide, so you'll know exactly which stems go with which flowers and which pieces you'll use to layer up the vases and the flower pots. Let's get started. I have a piece of watercolor cardstock that I've used, I cut it with a die from the hand-torn rectangles die set, and I've taken one of the little vases and I've lined that up in the center of my panel, and now I'm going to use watercolor or water-based markers for my stamping. I'm using this in place of an ink pad, but if you have a dye ink pad, this technique would work as well. All I'm doing is just taking the stamp, laying it into my stamping platform, and then I'm using the side of my watercolor brush to add ink onto the stamp. You don't want to use the tip or the point of the marker because you'll damage that tip, but if you use the broad side of the marker, you won't do any damage at all. So all I'm doing is just building up my layers here. I did the 2 layers for the vase with 2 different colors of turquoise ink. Then I have my stems that I stamped in green. I have some flowers that I stamped in a magenta color, and now I'm going to do the second layer of those flowers in yellow. So this vase is going to be the vase, the stems, and then there's 2 sets of flowers. And again, use your layering guide that comes with the stamps so that you'll know exactly which pieces go together. I'm going to repeat this process twice more so that I have 3 sets of vases filled with flowers. The process is the exact same. I'm just using my watercolor markers and in place of stamp pads and building up my images. Now here's the fun part. Once I have my images all stamped, you can leave them as is. They're beautiful as they are. But you can spritz these images with some water because these are water-based markers and these inks are going to start to move. So I have just regular clean water here. I am spraying from probably about 1.5 feet above my work surface and just giving this a spritz. And then I'm going to take a step back, let the water start working. If I see that I've missed any areas, I'll come in closer and just give those areas little individual drops of water. I have a paper towel handy that I'm going to use just to kind of clean up anywhere where the colors get muddy. Since I have red and pink flowers right next to the green stems, and red and green don't mix well, they make a brown, so I have a paper towel handy and ready just to kind of dab up any areas where the colors are muddying instead of just wicking out. Here is the finished product once I've spritzed that with water. You can see how different this looks than just a regular stamped image. It looks like I took a long time and sat there and watercolored those images when really this took no effort at all. I'm going to start working on the rest of the card. That floral image is going to be my focal point, so I just want something quick and easy in the background just to bring in a little bit more color. So I grabbed an LDRS Creative Stencil and I have a dip and dab ink pouncer, and I'm going to pounce some ink over my background. I'm going to be using another hand-torn rectangle die to cut this panel down, and then I will actually mat that on the largest die from that die set to complete my pattern. Don't be alarmed though, you can see here that I used a mixture of green and blue inks. I thought that I would kind of match the color of the vases, but once I started assembling this card, I didn't really love the way that it looked layered up, and you'll see in a moment as I grab this out of my die cutting machine and place my stamped panel on the top. I stared at this for a long time, and then I realized that I think it was the colors that I didn't like. So I ended up redoing that background with some lavender ink. Same process, used a dip and dab ink pouncer, stenciled and blended on some purple ink, And then I ended up using a purple background for my card, and I really like the way that that makes the flowers stand out rather than the vases stand out. That's it. If you want to see how to use these stamps with LDRS Creative Hybrid inks and isopropyl alcohol instead of water, I do have another video on the LDRS Creative channel demonstrating that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!